Today me and my group will make a presentation based on the article from Toshiyuki Saito about functional study of the central nervous system for farm animal husbandry under the title nervous system. Here are the names of my group members, which are group 3. And I am Muhammad Zulfika bin Ahmad Nizam, F20A0479. Okay, I will present on the introduction. At first, let's find out what the nervous system is. Nervous system is coordination between sense and response of animal to environment. In the article recent approach and finding related to the ability, behavior and influence of stress on sensing and reconnection of the central regulatory system in animal farms are described. Every animal has positive behavior, that is good behavior, and negative behavior, that is bad behavior. This behavior is a message from the brain of animal that indicates the animal is a good shape or not. The behavior shown is a learning and memory process for animal to quickly recognize or remember that meaning of the stimulus. Next, stress was a major concern in this study. The behavior performed by the animal indicates whether the animal is under stress or not. The stress level of an animal can be defined through physiological measurements such as hormone secretion and autonomic nerve.
Sensation. Definition of sensation is a mental process resulting from the intermediate external stimulation of a sense organ, often as distinguishes from a conscious awareness of the sensory process. You will be learned after this. First is olfaction, second is hearing, third is vision, and fourth is taste. Olfaction. Meaning is dendrite of olfactory receptor neuron that detect various smells. Process of the olfaction is odorant source will detected by olfactory sensory neuron at roof of nasal cavity. Next, neuron will convert chemical stimuli into electrical signal via olfactory nerve to olfactory bulb. Third, the signal will bring the brain and will recognize the smell.
Conditioned taste aversion. Conditioned taste aversion is a great example of some of the fundamental machine of classical conditioning. The previously neutral stimulus, the food, is paired with an unconditional stimulus, an illness, which leads to an unconditional response, feeling sick. And then hearing. The hearing modality was examined by changing the position of the sound source. For example, for cattle, dog, human, and goat. And then the result is this finding indicate that cattle and goat are less sensitive to the chain of the sound source than humans and dogs.
Based on this article, their vision about functional study of the central nervous system from animal husbandry, they perform a hypothesis on an adult cow to measure the level of visual acuity as well as its stimulation of vision either vertically or horizontally. Then they also conduct a study on sheep to assess their ability to recognize human visually. Last but not least, they also measure the spectral properties of the cone using electroretinogram flicker or photometry to perform some color recognition on ruminants.
Let's proceed to the next slide. Next slide is about the amygdala as a focal region for medication of biological response to stressor. Due to the grade 1993, when animals receive stressful, which is when they are fearful or excessive, the amygdala will play an important role in the expression of autonomic, neuroendocrinological, and behavioral change. Next, when there is ablation or lesion of the amygdaloid complex block the response induced by stressor, the central amygdaloid nucleus is a part of neuronal circuit, meditation, anxiety. And lastly, according to the recent study, the lateral amygdala is a possible site of the plasticity that unpins memory storage for fearful training. The next slide is about the autonomic nervous system. Consists of the sympathetic and parasympathetic neurons as well as the enteric neurons. Based on Swanson and Sorchenko in 1980, the amygdala and hypothalamus have a big influence on its activity, and it is well known that the heart rate, blood pressure, and the hormone secretion from the adrenal glands. And last, the domestic animal can be divided into two groups based on their heart rate, which are the sympathetic dominant and parasympathetic dominant. The example of the sympathetic dominant is dog, pig, and chicken. The example of parasympathetic dominant is horse, cow, and dog.
Central regulation and stress-induced behaviors. Corticotropin releasing hormone, which is CRH, is a key hormone integrating the stress response in the central nervous system. Intracerebroventricular, which is ICV administration of CRH, increased locomotor activities, anxiety behavior, vocalization, as well as reducing food intake. The effect of pulsing CRH on behaviors. ICV administration of pulsing CRH increased the overall activities of walking, standing, licking, and routine and activity-related sequence, sit, walk, and stand. But the ICV pulsing CRH decreased the oral or nasal stereotypic behavior, route, and leak. ICV-CRH may differently act on the neural pathway regulating behavior and vocalization from that on endocrine responses. ICV-CRH may have longer effect on the neuronal network that control behavior. The difference in behavioral reaction with or without stereotypes and correlation with ACTH and cortisol level in plasma. The study investigated in calves and heifers differences in behavioral reaction with or without stereotypes and correlation with ACTH and cortisol level in plasma. The plasma ACTH level from the tetrad calves with high oral stereotypy is lower than that of the animal with no or low stereotypy. The ACTH level in the calves is significantly higher than the heifers, but the cortisol secretion after exogenous ACTH administration is lower in calves than the heifers. Redbow 1998. The stereotypic behavior may occur the calves or heifers with low plasma ACTH level. The psychobiological base of social attachment. During short-term isolation and to subsequent reunion with familiar or unfamiliar co-specifics, behavioral heart rate and plasma cortisol were measured in Abruzzo and Frisian cattle. Both cattle show struggle behavior, but the response in the heart rate and adrenal cortisol secretion are larger in Abruzzo cattle than Frisian. The central pathway involving amygdala and hypothalamus in Abruzzo cattle may have lower threshold to isolation and regrouping stress. The reason why Abruzzo cattle show the larger response in cardiac and adrenocortical response remain unknown.
Stereotaxic approach in the brain of farm animal. There are two main points in stereotaxic approach, such as stereotaxic instrument and brain atlas. For a stereotaxic instrument, it can help to calculate the three standard planes such as sagittal, coronal and horizontal. The instruments are designed and made for each target animal. It provides some coordinate for the goat brain atlas using ventriculography. For the brain atlas, an atlas can take on many forms, from description of structure or functional of the whole brain to map of group or population. Individual system of the brain can be mapped as things over time, as in development or degeneration. An atlas enable comparison across individual modalities or state.
In conclusion, this article shows explanation of animal sensory perceptions. Information is delivered by animal behavior based on change in management and conditions. Animals can act in different ways after taking the same sensory input capital when the surrounding environment is different. Finally, the behavior response of farm animals are influenced by their ability to learn and their memory of their admiration and fear. That's all for our presentation. Thank you so much.